Welcome to the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. On today's show, we are talking about a blockbuster trade idea that was thrown out there on social media that involves Miami and the Utah Jazz. And if you saw the thumbnail, it means the Heat are acquiring Lauri Markkanen. So let's jump right into this trade that was thrown out there. I think it was a Bleacher Report trade. If I'm wrong, I apologize to Bleacher Report. But in this blockbuster, the Heat get Lauri Markkanen, Collin Sexton, and Jordan Clarkson. And what they give up is Andrew Wiggins, Nikola Jovic, Duncan Robinson, Terry Rozier, and then 2 first-round picks, the 20th overall pick in this year's draft, plus a 2029 first-round pick. And this is certainly an interesting one. I want to talk about Markkanen. I want to talk about Sexton. I want to talk about if I would do it. I want to talk about how this team would be formed and how they would have to try to coexist. Before we get into it, though, make sure you have hit that thumbs up icon. You love the Miami Heat like we do. Hit that thumbs up button. Help us out. Show our bosses that Heat fans are big in numbers. Hit that like button today. I do want to throw it back to just the 365 days ago, because if you revisit some of our content from last year, where it wasn't as fun as 2 years ago when we had the Damian Lillard saga, but we discussed a lot about Donovan Mitchell. We talked about Brandon Ingram. We talked about Kyle Kuzma. And we talked a lot about Lauri Markkanen, because it has been reported, and it was reported by multiple people, Mark Stein being one of them. There's also others out there that noted the Heat front office, Pat Riley and company, were interested in potentially pursuing a Lauri Markkanen trade. Actually, may have held discussions. Zach Lowe had that report, I believe, last year before he signed his extension. So he did sign a mega extension with the Jazz. I believe it was a contract where he's getting like 45, 48 mil per season over 4 years. Last year was the last year of that deal, and then this year would be the first year of that new extension kicking in. And Markkanen is an interesting player. He is good, but he had a down year. Like, this season, he played 47 games. Last year, he played 55, so back-to-back years of not qualifying for that 65-game threshold, which everybody tries to pursue, because that is what you need to be able to earn a All-NBA or any type of award nowadays. But you see the regression, if you will, in points per game, in rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, three-point percentage. It was a down year for Lauri. There's no doubt about that. And there's many different reasons why that may come to be. It might be that they drafted a guy in Keontae George who getting more involved. You have Isaiah Collier. They tried to work in some other guys as well. Like, there's just many different reasons why Markkanen may have had a down year, or maybe just didn't really find it this season. But he usually does play like an all-star. Was an all-star that season 2 years ago. Now, it might have been helpful that the All-Star game was in Utah that year. They wanted to get a homegrown guy there. But, like, you see the vision of an All-Star level player. He's still relatively young, drafted in 2017. So, same draft class as Adebayo. Like, it'd be interesting to spin the block potentially on Lauri Markkanen. And that's kind of what I want to ask you guys. Do you guys still hold interest in Markkanen? Certainly wouldn't be as expensive to acquire now than he was last year, which is why if you look at that trade package thrown out there by Bleacher Report, you're really only offering one meaningful player and 2 first-round picks for Markkanen, Sexton, and Clarkson. Like, Clarkson's a negative, yeah, but Sexton and Markkanen for basically Jovic and 2 firsts, like, sure, Wiggins holds some value, but Duncan Robinson and Rozier don't. They're just salary in that deal. Miami's looking to move off of them anyway. So in a realistic world, you're trading Wiggins and Jovic and 2 firsts for Markkanen, Sexton, and Clarkson. It's not that bad of a deal. But the question you have to ask yourself if you acquire Lauri from Utah is that, can he play the 3? I don't know if he can, but he has done it in the past. If you go back when the trade happened between Chicago and Cleveland, which sent the team that drafted Lauri Markkanen and the Bulls a handful of players, and they ultimately got Markkanen in Cleveland. And then Markkanen played the 3 alongside a couple of big men there. I think he played alongside Kevin Love and Jared Allen at the time. But then he was the main young player traded to Utah in the deal for Donovan Mitchell. So he has had experience playing the 3 before. Now he's a 3-4-5 hybrid. He's very versatile. But if you do go back to last year, I looked at the most common players he guarded. Defensively, this is. When being matched up defensively, what players did he guard the most? Now, he guarded a lot of people, but the player that he guarded the most last year was LeBron James, a 3 or 4, 18 minutes. He guarded SGA somehow the second most at 13.1 minutes. OG Anunoby a 3 or 4 at 11 minutes. Keegan Murray at 11.3 minutes. That's another 3 or 4. And then the only time that he guarded a straight-up big man, which in the top 5 of the list, was Victor Wembanyama. So you heard me talk about his past with Cleveland, where he played the 3 with Kevin Love and Jarrett Allen. And I'm not saying he played the 3 this year in Utah, but they did run some big lineups with Markkanen, John Collins, and Walker Kessler. So he can play the 3. Just doesn't really defend that well. Like, you looked at that list we just displayed of some of his common matchups defensively. They didn't get deterred by Markkanen. SGA shot above 50%. No surprise there. It's the MVP. LeBron shot over 50. Wemby shot over 50. Like, I don't think he's that good defensively to a point where he can guard consistently on the perimeter against opposing wings. But spin zone, I don't think he would have to in Miami. Like, you think of what the Heat would run. Yeah, they would run a big lineup of where Markkanen and Adebayo, if they made that trade at the 3-4-5, you would have unbelievable functional size. But the reason why it may actually work defensively is because how good Bam Adebayo is. In that lineup, it's similar to what Utah had last year. You have Kel'el Ware / Walker Kessler be the 5, be the rim protector inside. You have Markkanen kind of being able to switch on the 3s and 4s, but mostly guard 4s. And then you have that versatile athletic wing defender that can guard 3 through 5. Bam Adebayo, John Collins. And Bam Adebayo is obviously significantly better than John Collins on the defensive side of the floor. But you see a little bit of a common theme there. Like, if you think about defensively, Adebayo can guard 1 through 5. I think he's one of the rare players that can do it and actually do it at a competent level. He could guard Tatum's. He could guard Bridges'. He could guard Jaylen Brown's. He does it consistently. And then you put Lauri at the 4. So it works defensively. The question is the offensive fit there? And theoretically, Markkanen should be able to fit next to Bam and Ware. Because if you look at Lauri Markkanen's shot chart over the past couple of seasons, he is that prototypical modern-day player that shoots from beyond the arc and shoots inside the paint. Doesn't go to the mid-range often, but is capable of getting a mismatch because he often is at the perimeter. Maybe pick and switch, pick and roll in the short roll. He could play make in the short roll as well, which I really like. Like, he can take advantage of a mismatch and get in the paint, get in the low block and make a move, going back to his days at Arizona and at Chicago when he was first coming up in the league. Like, the offensive fit theoretically is there, but you also have to wonder why he has had up and down seasons from beyond the arc. Like, he shot 34% last year, 39% the year before, 35% the year prior to that, but then 39% again, once again, the year there. So it's like almost every other year he shoots 39 or 35% from 3. If you get it 39%, well, you're talking about a really dynamic offensive player that made the All-Star game a couple years ago. So it's certainly an idea and a fit that makes me at least intrigued enough to consider it. More coming here in a second, but make sure you subscribe to the channel. Don't miss out on daily Miami Heat coverage, whether it's trade rumors, news, draft, free agency. We have you covered on a daily basis, so hit that sub button and join the channel right now. Well, obviously in that blockbuster trade that we discussed, a lot of it was also Markkanen, but there's also another player that would be a massive player you're adding, that being Collin Sexton, who has been a player I think Heat fans have been intrigued about adding for a very long time. And you look at what he was able to do last season and really over the past 4 years, it's pretty consistent. He averages 15 points plus a game, gives you about 3.5 to 4.5 assists a night, and is relatively efficient. Like, I was actually shocked when looking at Collin Sexton's career how good of a three-point shooter he has been over the past couple of seasons. Like, I always thought of him as a 35, 37% three-point shooter, but you look at the numbers, he's consistently 38, 39, 40. So this is a guard that I think could fit next to Tyler Herro, especially on the offensive end. One thing I have always loved about Collin Sexton is his mentality, his he's a dog. I mean, that's what he is. Like, you go back, and I'll never forget the story. It's one of the most unreal basketball stories of all time. Minnesota, Alabama, when Sexton was a freshman in college. It was a crazy psycho game where somehow Alabama, because of a scuffle, their bench came off the floor, and by rule, they're ejected from the game. So the entire bench is ejected, right? So the 5 players that were on the floor for Alabama were the only 5 able to continue. So they had 5 guys for almost the entire second half. Sorry for story time here, folks, but I'm going to go through it. Then they have a player get injured, but they have no one to sub in for him. It's 5-on-4. Then a player fouls out. 5-on-3. I mean, legitimately, it was Collin Sexton and 2 teammates playing 5-on-3 against the Minnesota team, which, by the way, Alabama, as they were 5-3, trailing by double digits, almost came back and won. It was one of the most insane games ever. Sorry. But it just speaks on his dog, his ability to not back down, his competitive fire. You see it when he plays. He slaps the floor defensively, is highly energized, gets the crowd into it, gets into your grill. Now, is he a good defensive player? No, but he tries, and I like that. Like, the fit with him with Tyler Herro offensively is really good. It is, because he can shoot the 3, he can create for himself, he can play off ball. Him and Tyler, I think, would work hand in hand. Sexton's 6'3", so he's not a shorter guy, a little bit on the end of the shorter spectrum, but still good enough to work with Tyler Herro since he's 6'5", 6'6". But when you look at who Sexton has been guarding over his career and what he guarded last year, he was guarding the Christian Browns of the world, the Nickeil Alexander-Walkers, and no disrespect to them, but you're not saying, hey, Collin, go attack him. You're now our lead defender on the perimeter. That's not happening. Like, as I mentioned, he competes, but it's not that good defensively. So if you had a backcourt of Tyler and Sexton, I think it would be very fun offensively. That could give you a combined 50 points a night, if we're going to be honest, between Herro going for maybe 24, 25, Sexton 20, so maybe 40, 45, somewhere in between there. But it's a great offensive backcourt. The defense is a question mark, though. So that is a little bit of a concern if you're making that trade. So let's revisit this trade before I give you my official thoughts. Would you make this trade, this blockbuster that lands Lauri Markkanen, Collin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson in Miami? All you have to give up, in my eyes, because Duncan and Rozier are like, get them off the roster, is Jovic, Wiggins, 2 first-round picks. A for accept, D for decline. I don't hate the trade package because, like I said, I don't think you're giving up that much. And if you will keep Nikola Jovic, the best possible outcome for Nikola Jovic, in my opinion, is actually current Lauri Markkanen. I love Jovic, but that's his ceiling. I think that's fair to admit that. So if you're just trading Jovic for Markkanen, then I think it makes a lot of sense. But I am a little skeptical of the fit, and here is why. I like the potential lineup. The starting group would be very fun. Is it a team that can win a title? I don't know. Like, this would be the starting lineup. Bam would guard 3s. Markkanen would guard 4s. Ware would be 5. And then you have Herro and Sexton. But your bench would be relatively deep because in this hypothetical, I would look to re-sign Davion Mitchell to be your backup point guard. You have Jordan Clarkson, who could be a spark plug scorer off the bench in that guard spot. And then you have wings at Triple J and Haywood Highsmith. Now, you also have Pallel Larson. You also would probably need to find a... Actually, now that I think about it, you wouldn't have to find a third center, actually, as a backup to Ware, because you could just then rotate after the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game where these guys start to where you have Bam and Markkanen as your 4-5. Then you could have Markkanen and Ware as your 4-5. Bam and Markkanen 4-5. Like, you could just do different combinations of that 3-man front court, but start with them all on the game because there is defensive versatility there. I think it competes. I think it would be a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference next year without question, especially with Boston taking a step back, Milwaukee taking a step back. You would be right there, in my opinion, with the Detroit Pistons of the world. Would you be better than the Knicks, the Pacers, the Cavs, though? Be close, but I think you probably would have to get lucky to win one of those series. Like, you would be 4th, 5th seed in the East, I think, next year, if you had that team. But I don't think it wins a title. So my question then would be, are you doing that to be competitive next year? Or are you waiting to save your assets and your young players, your majority of draft picks that you can trade for a player that can get you over the hump? Maybe the Heat view that as a move that could get them there. I don't know, but I'm skeptical of it. Fun trade idea to talk about on today's show. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us here. And if you have not subscribed already, please do so. If you are still watching, you clearly like what we're doing here in a second. If you want more breakdowns, you want more story times like we had in the middle of today's show, I'm all here for it. Join us today.